All right, we're going to start working with our tree. And a couple of things to notice. We're back at the home page, and it's going to show us kind of where we left off. We were looking at the hints and stuff for Linda Wright. Notice when you come back to the page, it shows you where you left off. And sometimes if you've been gone a while, this can be a really big hint to pick up and not redo some of the work you did before. So if you look here on the home page, it's got this little hint. Now, this home page does change from time to time, and it actually is maybe different for some people now. Once you get a subscription, this page does change. It gives you some other information. But if you're working with a new account without a subscription, typically you'll see this page. And that's why when we were building the tree, we didn't start here, because this eventually will go away and you won't see that. So we're going to go back to the trees, click on trees. And there's our Jones family tree, create and manage trees. We're not going to create one or manage one just yet. We're going to click on the Jones family tree. So we were talking about the hints, and last one we had reviewed, there were 3 hints. Now notice up here it says there's 11 hints, which means that there are 8 hints for Larry Jones and there are 3 hints for Linda Wright. But I can see that there's no father, no mother added. We need to build out our tree. So my mother, we're working with her adoptive family line. So we're kind of going down a rabbit trail to a legitimate family connection, but not a biological connection. And I do that for a couple of reasons. One, I want you to see that when you're copying in and doing information, just because it's out there doesn't mean it's accurate. It may be accurate as far as a paper trail, but until it's verified with DNA, it really isn't accurate. I mean, I've got 2 different birth certificates and neither one of them have the name of my biological father, just to put it in perspective. So we're going to add the adoptive father to Linda Wright, my grandfather, and his name was Leroy David, and deceased. And now I do know my grandfather and my grandmother's birthday because we celebrated him all the time. He was born in 1910. I'm not going to put birthplace, death days, even though I know these, because I want us to kind of go along assuming that you might not know a lot, if any, information. So I put Leroy David Wright, and look what happens. Immediately I get Ancestry giving me back information. Now, I still got the 11 hints, so it doesn't count these as hints, okay? All right, it says there's some hints there. This is a potential father and a potential mother for Leroy David Wright, okay? Now, before we go on to that, I'm going to add my grandmother. And my grandmother's name was Alpha Harbaugh. And you notice I'm not putting Wright. And this is very important. When you enter, it says maiden name. Don't put Wright. That's who she married. So it's very important not to put the married name here. And so you got Alpha and then Harbaugh being her maiden name. She's deceased. Now, I remember her birth year was 1907 because that's the same year that Oklahoma became a state. She was born in Oklahoma, sort of. She was actually born earlier in the year, and it was Indian Territory. So again, one of the reasons you don't put necessarily a birthplace on that is if I put Oklahoma, I won't get Indian Territory necessarily. If I put Indian Territory, I might not get Oklahoma. So we don't know how those records were documented for that year because it happened the same year, just a few months later. So we're not going to put the birthplace just yet. Now, if we run into a wall, we can add that information, but we're trying to get going really fast. And just like with my grandfather, we get potential hints. Notice the hints number still stays at 11, even though there were additional hints here. So if we were to look, it says there's 15 just for him and 2 for there. That's 17 more than the 11. This isn't going to update until we update the page. So if we update the page, we're going to get some updates there. And notice all of a sudden it says 41 now. Okay, this number doesn't dynamically change kind of like the rest of them do. So this is all changing dynamically on the fly. This number isn't. So this number is good to look at when you log in and you're seeing stuff to kind of gauge what you've got. But you have to refresh the page for it to change. So what we're going to do now is we're going to look at the potential parents for these people, and we'll do that in our next video.